Hey everyone, it's Mr. Engel-Cope. So hopefully you got through the warm-up okay. You've responded to that discussion question. Now we're going to move on to the reading. Source A, Power and Authority of Babylonian and Assyrian Empires. If you click into this, you'll see the actual reading is provided here for you. So we're going to go ahead and read it together. This is from the Social Studies My World Interactive World History Early Ages textbook. This is pages 54 through 60. The Conquest of Sumer. As Sumerian kings struggled for power, fighting between city-states was common. Years of frequent fighting made Sumerian city-states grow weaker. This eventually led to the conquest of Sumer. Conflict among city-states. The fighting between the city-states of Umma and Lagash is one example of the widespread conflict in Sumer. For many years, Umma and Lagash and their allies fought to control a fertile region on their shared border. An ally is an independent state that works with other states to achieve a shared military or political goal. Around 2450 BCE, armies from Umma and Lagash met in a major battle. Soldiers used bronze axes and long spears with sharp metal points. Thousands of troops died in the fighting before Lagash won the battle. To celebrate their victory, Lagash soldiers looted and burned Umma. They captured prisoners from Umma to be sold as slaves. It took years for Umma to recover from the defeat. Around 2375 BCE, a powerful king of Umma finally defeated Lagash and several other Sumerian city-states, and his rule soon came to an end, however. So, how did Sargon build an empire? While the Sumerian city-states struggled for power, a new society arose in Mesopotamia. The Acadian people lived in the northwest of Sumer, but they were not related to Sumerians. Acadians spoke a different language and had different customs. During the 2300s BCE, an Acadian man named Sargon became king of the Sumerian city-states of Kish. He changed the language used by the government to Akkadian. Under Sargon's rule, the Acadian army conquered other Mesopotamian city-states. He placed loyal Acadians in important government and religious positions. For example, he chose his daughter to be a high priestess in the city-state of These moves helped him solidify his power. Then Sargon united much of Mesopotamia under his rule, creating the world's first empire, which is called the Akkadian Empire. Acadian culture. The Akkadians and the Sumerians shared some cultural traits. A cultural trait is an idea or way of doing things that is common in a certain culture. For example, the Akkadians and Sumerians had similar religious practices, and both societies used the cuneiform system of writing. As Sargon's troops moved throughout the Fertile Crescent, they brought their cultural traits with them. Furthermore, Akkadians began to trade with people as far away as the Indus Valley in modern-day Pakistan. While the Fertile Crescent provided abundant crops, it had few trees and did not provide any minerals. Trading to the east and west, Akkadians obtained wood, copper, silver, and precious stones like red and blue lapis lazuli. Through trade, Akkadian and Sumerian culture spread to other regions and was adopted by other peoples. How did the Akkadian Empire end? To control such a large empire, Sargon appointed local rulers. Each local ruler served as king of the land he oversaw. Sargon was able to control the Akkadian Empire for more than 50 years. After Sargon's death in 2279 BCE, the Akkadian Empire faced a growing number of rebellions and invasions. Within 100 years, the empire had collapsed. Warriors from the Zagros Mountains, east of the Tigris River, eventually took control of the region. Around 2100 BCE, Sumer was united again, this time by Ur-Nammu, the ruler of Ur. Ur-Nammu issued the world's first known law code. Ur prospered from about 100 years under Ur-Nammu and later rulers. Then, an uprising of rebels from the east managed to destroy Ur and capture its ruler. You guys see that typo there? I wonder if I can fix it. Maybe not. I'll go back and fix it later. This ended Ur's rule over Sumer. Once again, the Sumerian city-states fought over power. The Babylonian Empire. After the destruction of Ur, many groups invaded Sumer. One of them, the Amorites, came from northern Mesopotamia. The Amorites took control of several Sumerian city-states, including Babylon. At the time, Babylon was a small, unimportant city on the Euphrates River, near present-day Baghdad, Iraq. But under a king named Hammurabi, Babylon became the center of a new Mesopotamian empire. The empire forms. Around 1792 BCE, Hammurabi became king of Babylon. For 30 years, he solidified his power and built up his army. Then he launched a series of attacks against other Mesopotamia city-states. Within a few years, he had united southern Mesopotamia into what we now call the Old Babylonian Empire, which is also called Babylonia. Hammurabi was an excellent military leader, and he was also a skilled ruler. Like Sargon, after Hammurabi built his empire, he had to create a government strong enough to hold it together. He sent his own governors, tax collectors, and judges to rule distant cities. He spread out his well-trained troops over the empire. Hammurabi also oversaw a number of public building projects and encouraged the growth of trade with the other lands. How did the Assyrian and Neo-Babylonian empires develop? Invaders swept into Mesopotamia after Hammurabi's death in 1750 BCE. Hundreds of years passed before Assyrians, a people of northern Mesopotamia, united the region again. Assyria lay north of Babylon, along the Tigris River. Like much of Mesopotamia, it fell under influence of Sumer. Later, Assyria was part of the Akkadian and Babylonian empires. Why was Assyria known as a military state? After Babylonia fell, the Assyrians fought against a steady stream of invaders. Some of them conquered Assyrian, but for long periods the Assyrians stayed free. Assyria's armies included some of the world's earliest cavalry, or soldiers who fight while riding horses. Assyrians used iron weapons and tools which were stronger than the bronze ones. The Assyrians built up a strong military state by the mid-800s BCE. Within 200 years, they turned that state into an empire. By the mid-600s BCE, the Assyrian Empire stretched north from the Persian Gulf across the entire Fertile Crescent and southwest into Egypt. Political order in the empire. Like Sargon and Hammurabi, Assyrian rulers found that controlling a large empire was difficult. The Assyrians divided the empire into about 70 smaller units of government called provinces. They assigned a governor to each province. Each governor reported directly to the Assyrian ruler. This helped the ruler keep control of distant lands. An Assyrian ruler named Ashurbanipal made the city of Nineveh his capital. There he built a library and filled it with cuneiform tablets. They were mainly texts and letters from Sumer and Babylonia on subjects such as laws, literature, mathematics, and science. Some 20,000 of these tablets survive today. How was Babylon restored? After Ashurbanipal's death, civil war and enemy attacks weakened the Assyrian Empire. In 604 BCE, Nebuchadnezzar II became king of Babylon. He expanded his power as far west as Egypt. He also captured Jerusalem, destroyed the Jewish temple, and exiled many Jews to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar, his empire is known as the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar spent much money building great walls, gates, and temples. His most famous project was the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The Hanging Gardens were elaborate gardens built on a series of stone terraces. That's the end of the reading. Sorry for my flubs there, y'all. It sometimes gets the best of me while I'm reading. So I'm going to go over your assignments in my next screencast that go along with this reading. So the questions and the exit slip, the discussion post. Thanks for following along.